Every day, usually in the morning between 5 and 11 a.m., we release our Central Indiana Scoreboard Show, and it's awesome. You're going to want to listen to it every single day. It's 10 to 15 minutes of Colts, Pacers, IU, Purdue, IndyCar, the Fever, and major national sports news that Central Indiana sports fans are talking about. And, of course, the best high school sports coverage in Central Indiana. Please join us every day. What you are listening to now is the Central Indiana Sports Report podcast number 299.4. John Robertson and Michelle Garmon's reaction to the Fever's 87-71 win over the Connecticut Sun and a spot in the Commissioner Cup Championship.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Welcome, Fever fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report and our Fever Sun reaction with John Robertson and Michelle Garmon. Podcast number 299.4. Tomorrow's our official 300th edition of the Central Indiana Sports Report. Unbelievable. We're almost up to 1,000 total podcasts already. And John, another win for the Indiana Fever, and a big one.
Absolutely was a huge win. Fever had to do what they needed to take care of business at home to make sure they had an opportunity to be the East winner to go to the championship of the Commissioner's Cup. They did that. They took care of business, and about 2 minutes before the game ended, New York did their part to help us out. So Fever get the win, and with the Atlanta loss, Fever going to the Commissioner's Cup championship game, which is really important part for anybody who hasn't been following the WNBA for very long. It's a really important thing because they're playing for like $500,000 in money for charity, for local charities. So it's a big deal. And it was an exciting game. I think if we say that this was an exciting game would be an understatement.
And John, before we move on, we know who the opponent is going to be now. It's going to be the Minnesota Lynx.
Okay. There you go. I don't know. Wasn't able to follow that game. Apparently something happened to Nafisa Collier, and there's a chance she might not be able to play the next game. I don't know what that was. So if anybody wants to pull that up and look, but we may want to cut that out or not. So let's talk about the game.
I'm on it.
Okay.
All right, just keep going. I'll break in.
So I guess we should probably talk about this very exciting and let's just call it a chippy game, Michelle. What do you think?
You know, it was a chippy game. I liked your comment about being spicy and your little boxing glove emojis during our group chat. I will say this: the officials did need to get that game under control earlier. But I'm also going to say this: you know, I hear Pat Boylan and Debbie Antonelli going on about, this can't happen in the WNBA and things like that. Well, my take on that is this: we see these kind of hard fouls play in the NBA a lot. Okay, if the women want to be comparable to the men, they want their league, they want comparable pay. Part of it is then they're going to it's got to be across the board. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I personally think in some ways that both the men's and the women's game can both be cleaned up a little bit as far as some of those hard fouls. I will say this. Mabry credit, I don't think I've ever seen Mabry get like that, emotional. I watched her play at Notre Dame for 4 years and stuff. But both her and Cunningham, they kind of stood up for their teammates. I'm not sure that Mabry, where she was at on the floor, I'm not sure that she realized that when Sheldon went.
Before we get too much into the specifics of the scrappiness, I want to talk about your comment, and I don't think you're wrong, but I think last year when everything was happening, what was the majority of people saying about the WNBA? They're like, the WNBA is a tougher game and you got to toughen up and this and that, right? Like that was the comments that I heard all last year. And I think that's led to where we're at now. Like, I think it's
You know,
gotten borderline. I don't know if I want to even say borderline. It's gotten kind of violent. And it's not just against Indiana. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's only against the Fever and it's only against Caitlin Clark, because that's, an easy clickbaity
really
thing to
didn't just
say.
start,
But
and it didn't just start last year,
What do you
John.
expect?
Because
what, Greg?
I saw Boston. Boston got fouled hard. I've seen rookies get treated that way before Caitlin Clark. The
Sure.
difference is there weren't all those thousands of eyes on the thousands, hundreds of
Well,
thousands of eyes on the sport at that time.
that's
So
totally
I mean, it's
fair.
not
Like, it's
necessarily
not.
that
I
it's more
don't.
egregious.
I'm just saying that, like, last year everyone said it's a rough league, it's a rough league. Well, it's gotten to where it's a very rough league this year, and it's not. I'm not even focusing on Caitlin Clark. I'm talking about, like, I watched multiple games, and there's been some rough stuff.
Is that not okay? I'm curious why that's not okay.
I'm okay with it. I mean,
Okay, because it sounded like you were saying it derisively.
no. I'm saying last year the newer fans. I hate to, like, say the new fans, but, like, the people who started watching the WNBA seriously last year would say, they generally were Clark fans, and they were like, this is a little rough, and a lot of the OGs or the people who have been following for longer were like, this is a rough league, and that's how it goes. It's just how it is. And so now, when Sophie Cunningham stands up and defends somebody, everybody's all mad. I mean, kind
Why?
of. No, I'm not mad
I didn't
about
see
it.
anything tonight that you wouldn't see in an NBA game.
No, I thought it was all, like, I do think that they should have ejected Mabry after she
Maybe.
knocked.
All she did was shove her. All she did was give her a little shove. Come on.
I'm just saying, like, it sets the tone, though. For me, it sets the tone. And it's not even, like,
Maybe.
here's the thing. It's not even because it's Caitlin Clark. It's just, like, Sheldon and Clark had their thing, okay, and then Mabry comes from not even involved to shove somebody, and I'm like, get out.
I think it makes us seem like Knicks fans or Thunder fans when we whine because our star isn't getting.
Nope.
I just worry a little bit about that we're becoming that. When come on, let's be the tough ones. Let's not worry about who's pushing us around. Let's be the ones who push them around.
I'm all for that, and I'm absolutely agree with you. I'm not whining about people fouling Caitlin Clark. That's not me at all. I'm
not saying you.
Okay. Yes, no, I agree. But when you have somebody come from completely not involved in the play to shove someone down, that's where you are setting the tone for me.
Shove.
Fair enough, but I mean, you came from not even involved to get involved. That's where it.
Yeah, but well, you know what she saw? She saw her team. She saw Clark shove her teammate. That's why she came. And like I said, and I will say this. I will say this a little bit. I watched Caitlin Clark all through her college days, and I saw her definitely play her last 3 years in college because huge IU women's college basketball fan, which means I watched Big Ten, not just IU women. And my sister and I used to talk about we really were. We didn't like some of Caitlin's actions and stuff, but we were concerned because we felt like she didn't have necessarily great regard for her body during a game because she would flop and hit the deck so much so she could get to the free throw line. And a lot of times it made things look a lot worse. And I think that is part of it. I think that I would love to see Mabry shove that bump in slow motion to see if it was, as hard as that. Although you were there live, John, so you had the best.
Well,
you had the best view.
But I was on the opposite end of the court. We were on the baseline, the opposite baseline when it happened. So, I didn't have a close look.
Can we agree that in order for the WNBA to reach its zenith, there has to be some hate?
Agreed. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm totally. I have no problem with any of that. I do think that. Okay, so let's really. Okay, I want to get to more of the game eventually, but let's go ahead and have some of this real quick about, like, the controversial stuff because I mean, it's got to be addressed. First of all, I think that Sheldon has some serious beef with Clark. Because, like, if you think about one of the most famous images of Clark from last year, it's J.C. Sheldon getting, like, crossed up and falling over as right before she goes, so Sheldon already, you could see at the beginning
You
of
do realize they were big-time college rivals.
Well, that too, but I'm just saying, like,
they really were. They had head-to-heads. Caitlin Clark never, at Iowa, she never liked being physically guarded with defenders getting physical with her, especially if they were quick. I saw it against IU. I saw it against the little guard that was quick from Nebraska. I saw it with Sheldon. Caitlin likes to play physical. She doesn't like for others to play physical with her, and a little bit. I mean, that bothers her, and that's okay. I mean,
That's fair.
I'm growing
She's
to
learning
like
through
Caitlin's.
it. She's getting better and better at it.
But
Yes,
I'm just
she is,
talking
and I will
about.
say this: I'm going to credit Stephanie White with a lot of it because her temperament is getting to be better. Understand? She's not Stephanie's. She's a next play. She doesn't carry some of that with her. I will say this, John. What I saw on TV, J.C. Sheldon did not look like she intentionally swiped her in the face. Caitlin was going. The ball came up high.
Okay, but
Sheldon is
you're
smaller,
talking
and it
about
looked like
one
she was
play
reaching
only.
to knock it out.
But
and
you're
hit
only
her in the
talking
face.
about one play. I'm talking about watching those two go at it the whole game. Before that even happened, you could tell there was some hatred and some spice brewing between the two before we even got to that moment.
Well, yeah, that's Big Ten women's basketball rivalry. And
So,
like I said, I mean,
yeah,
they're there.
Yeah, they definitely had some beef going on. I don't know what Mabry's like. I mean, maybe she was getting pretty feisty out there too. I think she was frustrated with Lexi. Lexi had her locked up. Oh my gosh,
She did.
Lexi had Mabry locked up, and it was beautiful, and it was my favorite thing. I was loving every second of it because Lexi was hustling hard tonight. Lexi had a good game.
She's what I like about Lexi is she's a fighter. She's very physical. She's quick. She's tall. You look at her and you wouldn't believe she's just as tough and hard-nosed as she is.
Yeah. So without getting too far off of where we are, I think that you could see there was rivalry and frustration brewing between people before the scrape plus shove, and reshove, whatever you want to call it. And then so that after the refs let that go, and again, I'm not going to sit here and bash on the refs. I thought they did a pretty good job as far as calls tonight, so I'm not going to sit there and be upset about that. But once you let Mabry stay in the game and you let Sheldon stay in the game, I mean, Sophie was just looking for a chance to get a lick back. I'm not even gonna she found a perfect opportunity and she did it hard. Too hard, probably too hard. I mean, but I'm not gonna. The crowd loved it.
I don't think it.
The crowd loved it.
Too hard. I just
it.
think it was because she grabbed her around the neck, kind of like a horse collar, and threw her to the ground.
Well,
but I don't mind the hard fouls.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's nice to have a teammate stand up for you like that.
Yeah, but then,
Exactly.
but then, when Sophie got shoved into the crowd, it just popped off. I mean, it was nuts. So there's that. I think Sophie's going to be a fan favorite now. I know that. You've met Kim, Michelle. So my wife thought she wanted a Sophie jersey before, and now she definitely wants a Sophie jersey. Kim's not even a feisty person, but she loved that Sophie was like the enforcer and took care of business and not afraid to get scrappy. She's like, screw it. So I think she's going to have a lot of fans now. I think her jersey's going to sell really well. I think she's going to get a lot of all-star votes out of this. And that's just pretty much.
John, I got a question though. How much bad blood do you think there is a little bit going into this, just for the fact that Stephanie White was the Sun coach and left and came over to the Fever? I mean,
But how many Connecticut fans? How many Sun players are still there when Stephanie? Because they pretty much retooled the whole team, other than Mabry and a couple others.
I know, but I mean, sometimes I just think that you find little things to do that. I think
there's more, but I think there's more bad blood between Sophie and Sheldon because JC caused Sophie to chip a tooth last time they played.
I will just tell you this: when you're short, when you're a short player in a physical, you got to find ways to hold your own, John.
That's
I've
fair.
Been short, and I'm not saying that that's right. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that I just think But I agree with Greg though. The WNBA, they can use some heated rivalries.
I would like the rivalries matched up to the gameplay though, because again, Sky
Yes.
Fever is not a rivalry really because Sky suck, and Connecticut.
Yes.
Fever Liberty is sure getting that way.
Fever Liberty though is a friendly rivalry. Did you not even know?
Won't be for long.
A fun rivalry.
Yeah, but I think they
Yeah.
respect each other. Even Caitlin tonight,
They do.
she shouted out New York and said, "Thank you for getting the win tonight." Like, that's so. I mean, yeah.
I hate when New York has players I like. I hate when the Cubs have players I like. Ugh. It's just the worst.
I think there's a lot of storylines going on here, and there's a full roster we can talk about after the Fever game if you want. But like, it was exciting. Let me tell you, I'm glad we went because we were kind of on the fence about whether we go today or not, and I'm glad we were in the house for tonight's game. It was electric. It was definitely an electric crowd.
I was just going to say, maybe that'll help carry over for a great fired up crowd for the Pacers on Thursday.
Yeah, if there's crossover, I mean, there'll be some crossover, but how much? Hard to say.
I hope everybody's still excited about the Pacers. They are winning Game 6, by the way. All right, here we go with some stats from the game tonight. The Fever had 6 players with at least 8 points and another with 5, that being Sophie Cunningham off the bench. Of course, Caitlin Clark scored 20. She was very giving tonight and finished with 6 assists. Could have had more. I thought she played a good floor game. She was plus 31. Kelsey Mitchell, 17 points on 8 of 18 shooting. Still can't hit a three-pointer yet. Natasha Howard, 16 points, 12 rebounds. Nice night for her. 7 of those on the offensive board. Dantas, 13 points off the bench after a really rough start. And then Cunningham played 22 minutes, scored 5 points, 7 rebounds. The Fever 15 for 16 from the free throw line and 19 assists on 31 baskets. And the Sun got 20 points from Tina Charles, and they lost, so who cares?
Yeah, I think the start the game, the biggest plays, like if I had to give credit to who started the game the best, is Natasha Howard. Like, Natasha Howard had a great night tonight. She came out, she played really hard. She's plus 24. She had 12 rebounds, so that's big. Like, she's had some up and down nights, so, I want to give her credit. She played really well tonight. Other than that, I mean, Caitlin's Caitlin, right? But then I do think Lexi, she's plus 29. Her defense played a giant role. What I like, though, is that we have, in my notes, because I was taking notes on my phone while I was watching the game, it was a really balanced attack, and like everybody was doing their job. So I think that's what the Fever need to continue to do if they want to have success all season long.
Yeah, I agree. Howard had a great start. I think from start to finish on both ends of the floor, though, I just credit Lexi Hall because she just never let Mabry get comfortable, and she was in her head all night. And I mean, she just, I think you could probably call Lexi Hall like the quiet assassin in some ways. I mean, I just think she kind of just quietly goes about and just does her job and does it very well, game in and game out.
I mean, Michelle, I am the biggest Lexi Hall fan that I've ever met, and it's because of her hustle. We call her Lexi Hustle around here, and she is. It just like, if people aren't watching the games and they're only looking at box scores, they're really missing out on how amazingly hard Lexi Hall plays basketball, and it is really just impressive. She's shutting down a lot of really good players. I compare Lexi to tonight. I was thinking about it. I was doing a Pacers Fever crossover thing, and I think Lexi's like Neesmith. She works super hard. She's getting rebounds when she can. She's making threes when she needs to, but she's really just full court taking care of business.
Well, John, I agree with you. When I was thinking about comparisons to the Pacers, I thought Lexi Hall and Andrew Neesmith. They're just quiet. Quiet.
Neesmith or Nimhard
fulfill it very well. Rebound. I mean, they rebound. They guard. They knock down big time threes when they need it to. That's a great comparison.
I have one too. Kelsey Mitchell reminds me of Ben Matherin. Just kind of really good around the basket. Can also knock down the three. Kind of the ball kind of sticks in her hands a lot. A lot of similarities between Ben Matherin and Kelsey Mitchell as well. I just happened to have that in my notes, and you guys are talking about comparisons. There we go.
The one thing I would like to see out, I mean, if we're to bring in Matherin, I think it's a good comparison as play style and the way they play. I would like to see Matherin be as consistent as Kelsey. If Matherin could get it, because honestly, you can pretty much count on Kelsey for 15 any given night. And if we could count on Mathurin, because I do think he's that athletic type of player, I think you're 100% correct. That would really boost the Pacers' chances in any game.
Another player I want to give credit to, not just tonight. I mean, it wasn't a double-double, 9 points, 9 rebounds, but it's just the overall floor game of Aaliyah Boston.
Good.
It's so impressive. I mean, she's made such a huge jump in her third year. And again, I'm going to credit Stephanie White and her staff. You look at the jumps that some of these players have made and just how comfortable they feel on the floor and how they can tell they're a part of a system on both ends of the floor. And it just makes
that
for
three
fun
looks
basketball.
smooth.
Yeah. You're right, that three was nice. The thing about Boston is, again, it's not going to show up as much on the stat sheet, but the way she was playing was causing the Sun to have to pay attention to her, so that it was opening it up for Howard to do more underneath also. So, I mean, I credit Aaliyah for that. So, like I said, that doesn't always show up in the stat sheet. She's plus 17, but it was really great. She played well. And
breaking news, guys, real fast. Breaking news: the Florida Panthers are Stanley Cup champions.
Well, congratulations to them. I don't like hockey, but I'm excited for the people that do. I'm excited for the people that care about that.
I usually watch hockey for the Stanley Cup, but with them overlapping with the NBA and the Pacers being in the NBA Finals, I haven't really paid attention to.
I haven't.
Hockey.
I barely paid any attention this year at all. Unfortunately,
I think the only game I really saw extended time was that triple overtime game with St. Louis, and I forget who they played, in the semifinals or whatever. Congratulations to the Florida Panthers. It's great for the Fever to advance to the Commissioner's Cup. Where's that game being played at, John? Because I forget.
I'll have to look it up. I'm just excited that the Fever have an opportunity because, I mean, this is really good momentum for them because they started off kind of poorly, and to come back and win all the games they needed to just to have a shot at the Commissioner Cup championship, that's a big deal.
Yeah, to win a couple of them without Caitlin is really a big deal too, I think.
I was in a conversation the other day, and I don't remember who I was having the conversation with, so it doesn't really matter. But I kind of think that Caitlin's absence and that injury, those 2 weeks, was good for the team as a whole. Obviously, everybody wants to see Caitlin play, and everybody would love to see Caitlin have, great nights, whatever. But I think that forced the team to come together and learn how to win without her, so that now they'll play even better with her.
And you know what? I also think it made her better sitting on the bench, having to coach and see the floor and everything. Because I just think that she got to see too, and probably noticed things that she doesn't really get to see because live is. It's still better watching live from the sidelines sometimes than it is game film after.
Yeah, no, I 100%. I really do, and it sounds weird to say it, but I really do think that her missing 2 weeks was the best thing that could have happened for this team. Not because they're better with her off the court, but it forced them to learn stuff early in the season they'll need later in a long playoff run. And
they had to. Yeah, they had to find other people to step up too, right? I mean, it can't be just watch Caitlin kind of take the ball and go at the end of a quarter or at the end of a game.
So the championship game is going to be July 1st, and it's in Minnesota, which...
By the way, impressive for the Fever to get there with Caitlin Clark not playing 3 of the games.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you agree that her being gone for 2 weeks is going to help the team long term?
Maybe. The things that the players who contributed to them winning while she wasn't there, their roles seem to have diminished again once she's gone, or once she came back. So I'm not so sure about that, but maybe.
Well, maybe. I think diminishing a role isn't necessarily as bad as knowing they can do it and step up, right? I mean,
that's a good point.
Yeah, and I do think that. So the side note about that, Ari did not sign with any other team right now. There have been some signings with other teams, and people are asking why didn't anybody pick up Ari. I think that she made kind of an under the table agreement to not sign with anybody else, so that once the Fever can afford to keep her under cap, they're going to sign her. I really think she wants to be on the Fever.
Reasonable. I hope so.
I have
She's a nice contributor.
I have no evidence or proof of that other than it just kind of fits a narrative of why wouldn't she have signed with somebody else?
Makes sense.
She played so well. Why wouldn't another team try to pick her up, right?
Well, right, and she probably is at the stage of her career, though. She probably knows kind of what maybe she wants to system that will work best for her. Since she's kind of like hardship, and she probably demands a little bit more money. I'm not exact. I will say this: the one thing about the WNBA I don't really know and understand is their salary structure.
Who does? Who does? And nobody wants to sign anybody to a long-term thing because of collective bargaining is going to happen over the course of the off-season after this season.
Right.
So, that's going to be interesting. I don't want to get into that tonight, but that'll be interesting. But
yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see McDonald end up with a fever. And, you never know. I mean, Cunningham could go down again, or, anybody goes down, and then you can bring her back in, right?
Yeah, Sophie had an ankle twinge before all of the brawl happened.
That's just not going away, is it?
Well, there was somebody grabbed her leg. I think it was number 7 on the Sun. I don't know that number off the top of my head, which one that is. I think it was like Haley Peters, maybe. It's like it looked like from where I was sitting that she grabbed her leg and then as Sophie fell to the ground, like she was getting up limping or sore or hurting. So like, one, that might have contributed to the way it happened after that, to the brawl, and two, she's definitely an injury risk.
Yeah, well, the announcers were talking on TV about how she appeared to be ginger, her appeared to have a little, walking gingerly. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. I wish I could go back and watch the broadcast. I didn't have a place to record it, so I didn't see it. I usually like to, when I go to a game, I like to watch it afterwards just so I can see what the announcers were saying, but it was an exciting game. It was really a big night in the WNBA as a whole. I mean, I know that most people are probably listening are Fever fans, but if you really want to talk about, there was like 10 of the 13 teams in the WNBA played tonight. So obviously we talked about New York beating Atlanta, and that one was kind of close up until the last minutes. I had that pulled up on my phone, like running, leaned up against the glass in front of me because
Atlanta seems legit.
Atlanta does seem legit, and New York barely pulled it off. I mean, they won by 5, but with 2 minutes to go, New York was down 3 or tied. I mean, and they kept going back and forth for a minute. No, you're good.
I keep forgetting the Dream have Ryan Howard, and that she missed a lot of last year with an injury.
Mm-hmm.
And she is one of the top players in the WNBA herself. And, she just makes the Dream so effective because she's a lot like Caitlin. She commands double teams and different things. Now, she's not the passer that Caitlin is, but, but she is a difference maker.
That, and you got Alicia Gray, who's incredibly good, and then Brianna Jones. Looks like their best scorer tonight was, I don't know how to say, Pow Pow. But, yeah, Fever, or the Dream, are better than I thought they were going to be this year. The other team that I thought is way better than I fully expected is, now I'm looking at it, is the Valkyries. Now, they lost to the Wings tonight, but the Valkyries have been surprising. They're at 5-5 in their last 10 games and 5-6 total. I would not have had them at 7th at the start of the season.
And they beat Vegas, didn't they?
Yes, they did. And just go running through the scoreboard for tonight, because I mean, Chicago lost to the Mystics. I think the Mystics are actually decent. I don't know that they're gonna do big things. I think they might like just skate into the playoffs or be in the playoffs, but like I don't think they'll win. They'll be a first round exit, but I think they've got a bright future. And then the Aces lost again, which I'm never sad to say. I want to love the Aces. Being a card player and loving Las Vegas, I want to like the Aces, but the team's unlikable in my opinion. You know what I mean? And it looks like the Storm's beating the Sparks. I'm not going to stay up for the end of that one, but it's a big night in the WNBA. It's definitely exciting. Lots of storylines going on. just to recap, I do think that this Sophie Cunningham thing did not happen in a vacuum. Let's just be real clear about that. Like, there's definitely a lot of things that led up to it. It will be the big story. Like, it will definitely be the water cooler talk of tomorrow. People that don't watch WNBA and don't pay attention will definitely be talking about the Sophie Cunningham brawl, and they will miss out on the fact that there was an incredibly good game around it, a chippy game, and then the history between the players. But that will definitely be the story.
Real fast, for the rest of the month, Thursday, the Fever are at Golden State at 10 o'clock. That's on Prime Video. Sunday at Vegas at 3 o'clock. That's on ESPN. Tuesday, the 24th, at Seattle. That's 10 p.m. at NBA TV. And then they are at home against the Sparks, so the 3-game road trip. Home against the Sparks on the 26th on Prime Video at 7. At Dallas, a lot of road games coming up. That's on Ion at 7:30 on Friday, June 27th. And then is the Commissioner Cup Championship game. Thanks, guys. Last thoughts.
I'm just happy to see the team playing well. Happy to see the Fever coming together as a team. I really do think they're rallying around each other, and you love to see that. And I think they've got a lot of potential for the season.
Thank you so much to John and Michelle for joining the podcast, and to you for listening, and to Daisy for being my best girl, and to Susie for producing, but mostly just Daisy for being my best girl. Such a good girl. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening. I got sidetracked.
Focus.
If you liked what you heard, share it. What else should I tell them? This is your chance. You got 15 seconds to tell the world whatever you want to tell it.
I tell them all the time. Share with your friends, enemies, anybody you know. And I love her too. Good enough?
Anything else? You still got 10 seconds.
She's a really good girl.
She is a really good girl.
The bestest girl.
The best girl ever. It's a little itchy right now. It's that time of year. The Central Indiana Sports Report is brought to you by TG Media, and I love Susie. And go Pacers.